Hey guys, how you doing today? Having one of these days. My hair is just not cooperating. It's just all floofy and like doing whatever it wants. So I think I just gotta live with it. Boy, am I ever looking forward to getting a haircut. That's gonna happen soon, I'm sure of it. So, what are we talking about today? Well, the G7 all get together in the same room and they start saying, we gotta do something about China. Yeah, we better do something about the fact that China actually gives a shit about its own citizens and the fact that China's actually building major infrastructure projects to, improve the world and make things a whole lot better for everybody. Yeah, we as rapacious, sociopathic, pedophilic capitalists, we can't have that. What are we gonna do about it? Here's the reality of what's happening with the G7, right? And who these people are. Every single one of these guys who are involved in the G7 is essentially just been bought by the capitalists and is getting into a room so that they can all discuss with the other nations and agree on like, oh, maybe we should have a uniform corporate tax rate, right? Maybe we should have a uniform understanding about what to do about climate change. Maybe we should have a uniform understanding that building things like bridges is a good idea, right? But then what always happens, right? They leave the room where they have maybe reasonable, rational talks about how to, make the world a livable place that people actually enjoy being in. They leave, they go home, then they go to their capitalist billionaire owners, and the capitalist billionaire owners go, nah, forget about any of that. That doesn't help me personally as a sociopathic billionaire who wants to destroy the planet. This is the thing that's so amusing to me about the Chinese Cold War, right? The Cold War with China is that it seems as though the big complaint that everybody is trying to lay at the feet of China's door is that they're being too effective in building their society, that they're actually managing to get things done, like building fusion reactors, for God's sakes, building the largest dam in the world, for God's sakes. They're actually doing stuff like building a whole bunch of solar panels, building a whole bunch of electric vehicles, attempting to actually address the realities of climate change while we plunge ourselves towards a deathly hell. Meanwhile, our billionaire class is still dedicated to the idea that is climate change even real? That doesn't seem like an even real thing that can happen. Here in Canada, it doesn't get more embarrassing, right? The Trudeau government literally erecting the Canada Infrastructure Bank to replace Stephen Harper's previous bank to allow lots of public private partnerships, right? P3s, literally entrenching billionaire wealth into the idea of building infrastructure projects. And guess what that's going to do? That's going to keep holding us back. That's going to keep holding us back because we're constantly needing to ask permission from a group of selfish, childish, rapacious sociopaths about, hey, what infrastructure can be built? So forget about ideas like the Belt and Road Initiative, which is like high-speed rail, better rail than we've got here in Canada. Forget about that. That's not going to happen, right? Forget about even building like roads. Forget about building bridges. Forget about building any like reasonable basic infrastructure, and certainly forget about building any high-tech infrastructure, right? The G7 is sitting there being like, we need to focus on green initiatives, things like solar panels, things like power generation that's not based on fossil fuels, and all of this. And they're just beginning to talk about it now. Why? Because there's a country in the world who literally has its shit together that every 5 years sits down and says, hey, we should draw up an economic plan for our country and then just execute on that plan. And nobody in China is standing there going, how you gonna pay for that? China's response to that is, we're the government. We do it. It's very simple. It's very straightforward. And we're so caught up in this manic ridiculous absurdity where we need to pay fealty and bow our heads and beg for any kind of compromise from a group of rapacious sociopaths who have proven again and again that their interest is in the destruction of the civil society. That by the time we actually purge our ranks of these sociopaths, by the time we actually engage in any kind of revolutionary energy, whether that be at the ballot box or whether that actually be by just going to these people's houses and actually getting anything done, by the time our society actually organizes itself to actually get rid of these parasites and these boils on the side, China is going to be so far ahead of us that it's embarrassing, right? The G7 can get together all day long. The G7 can get together every single day for a week, but they're never going to actually address the hard systemic problem that exists in capitalist societies, which is that, hey, if you give billions of dollars to small groups of people, you know what those people do? They turn into fucking sociopaths and they try to blow the place up, right? That's going to happen every single time. It's never not going to happen. The history of Western imperialism is billionaires blowing the place up and enslaving the populace. And while we are embarked on that absurdist, cyclical, regressive nonsense, China is a place that had a revolution, got rid of all those sociopaths, and now is actually building, growing, and moving forward. And like, you can try to peg China with all kinds of stuff if you like. They are still, after all, a group of humans. But you know what? But you know what they're not doing? You know what they're not doing? They're not doing everything they can to enrich a small cabal of capitalists and rule the society by fiat this way, while pretending as though the people who fall down, oh, it's their fault because they can't participate. This is like the absurdist drama of what it's like to be a communist in this society, right? If you're one of these people who bump into these videos around this time, please like, share, subscribe. I do a live stream every weekday, 6 to 9 Eastern time. Got the socialistaction.ca with JB Burrows. Please come on down to the live stream. And hey, if you got a couple of bucks jangling around your pocket, maybe think about throwing it my way. We need to support leftists, because all of our media and everything is being taken over by these far right wingers who are trying to convince us that what China is doing is bad, right? It's this, oh, because we completely don't have systemic racism in Canada, right? So it can't be the fact that we're just xenophobic racists looking at a nation of Asian people going, what they're doing is bad because they're Asian, right? That can't be the case. So we've got to look and see, oh, well, yeah, what they're doing is obviously bad. And you know what? We need to fight back against it. Well, okay. Now, let's get into the hard nuts of this. How? What could we actually do, right? What could we actually do as a people to actually improve the situation, improve the society? What infrastructure could we build? Well, we could invest heavily in solar, right? We can't do that. All of our rich people are heavily invested in fossil fuels, so we can't do that. Okay, too bad. So no solar panels, no nothing, no clean energy, none of that kind of stuff. Why? Because we're heavily invested in fossil fuels. Great. So, what's next? What could we invest in? Oh, we could invest in high-speed rail, right? Oh, yeah, can't do that. The billionaires are heavily invested in the current infrastructure we have, right? So we can't just build something else that's superior and better that would make the other thing obsolete. Nope, can't do that, right? Oh, well, what else could we do, right? What else could we do? Oh, we could attempt to build a fusion reactor, you know, like China has. Nah, can't do that. That's the fossil fuel problem again, right? So literally, what is going to happen is that these G7 dweebs, right, who are completely complicit and are completely just bowing their heads to the capitalist class, are going to say a whole bunch of stuff, are going to spew a whole bunch of nonsense, and people like Bill Gates and Jeff Bezos are just going to ignore them, right? Because they don't care. Because once you have $100 billion, who gives a shit, right? You get your big house, you get your big car, you get your your pedophile system with Jeffrey Epstein set up. You got all this kind of stuff that you want, right? What do you give a shit if some industry somewhere needs to get like higher speed rail, or some small town in Ontario needs to get a bridge, right? What do you care about that? Like it's completely irrelevant and completely doesn't matter whatsoever. And our politicians are so bought in, and our populace is so gullible that we're just going to keep going along this way and keep going along this way until finally the Chinese will be so far ahead that our rulers will just do what they always do, which is the only thing they can come up with, which is bomb them, right? That's what it's going to come down to. That finally we're going to find the excuse, right? We're going to find the reason that the populace will accept, which is easy to do because there's a huge segment of the population who seems to think they're not racist when they're the most racist. And we'll just start bombing them, right? And ultimately that will fail too, because the Chinese aren't just going to lay down and let themselves get attacked and bombed by the Americans. And so they'll fight back. And guess what's going to happen? We're going to have an explosive, destructive war just to protect the wealth of like 20 people. That's what's going to happen, because we're so gullible, we're so stupid, we're so incapable of just looking at the fact that there are billionaires walking around the society when there should be exactly none of that happening. And it's not going to be until literally our cities are bombed out shells that sections of our society start to even think, maybe the billionaires are a problem. Well, here's hoping that's not the truth. Here's hoping that what starts to happen is everybody, including the politicians, start to realize, yeah, if we don't actually get rid of these billionaires, China's just gonna overtake us with huge population and a massive technology advantage, an infrastructure advantage, right? Like, how is this anything but a national security risk? I've been saying this over and over again, that billionaires are a massive national security risk, because if you're constantly having to beg permission from the billionaires to get anything done, well, they don't care if you don't have drinking water. They don't care if you are on the street and homeless. They don't care, right? They don't give a shit at all. They're not going to spend even a penny to try to ameliorate that at all. And in fact, they're going to do everything they can to tell you that you're lazy and that you're stupid and that you don't know what you're up to, right? While simultaneously, like, they've never worked a day in their fucking life at all. Okay. This is just the long form way of me saying, like, it doesn't matter what they do at the G7, right? Like, it literally doesn't matter. Because we pay fealty to a billionaire class that shouldn't exist in the first place, they can say what they want. They can be like, oh, China is a big problem and all this kind of stuff. But nothing's going to happen. They're not going to actually build infrastructure. They're not actually going to do anything. Why? Because building that infrastructure and building all of the stuff that actually helps the populace doesn't further enrich the billionaire class. And that's why things like these public-private partnerships and the Canadian Infrastructure Bank are going to be a massive failure, ultimately. And finally, like 20 years from now, we're all just going to wake up and we're going to look at China and just be like, so, talk about a revolution, eh? Yeah, let's talk about a revolution. Anyway. This is the end of this video, guys. If you've made it to this point, you have to like, you have to share, you have to subscribe. Those are the rules. I don't make them up. Please come to my live stream, 6 to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, every weekday. And hey, if you've got a coin jangling around your pocket, my Patreon's down below. All right, guys. I love each and every one of you. You're doing really wonderfully out there. I know you are. You're making good decisions for yourself. These billionaires, instead of spending any amount of money to try and get the homeless off the street and try to feed anybody, they choose instead to gaslight you with their money because they're sociopaths. Don't let them, right? Don't let these sociopaths try to convince you that you are less than what you are, which is a divine being standing in divine energy. We could use some of it right now. Good luck. We're going to need it.